We made it to Jim Thorpe right about the time we wanted to, right about 8 o'clock. We're parked in a very expensive parking lot for 25 bucks for the day, but we've got the bikes off and we're about ready to take them down and check in and get loaded onto the train. The train leaves at 9:15 and should be a beautiful day. The scenic river, the Lehigh Gorge Scenic River Trail runs along the river, the Lehigh River, as does the train. We'll ride the train first on this ride up the Lehigh Gorge, and it's going to go uphill. We picked up our tickets and the bikes will be loaded onto this open air car for the trip up the gorge. We have two bike carrying cars on this train, so there's obviously a lot more riders than we had on the Northern Central Railway last weekend.
Inside the train station, they have some history of the area.
The discovery of anthracite coal in the Lehigh Gorge drove the development of industry all along the Lehigh River, primarily with the incorporation of the Lehigh Coal and Navigation Company. The coal needed to be extracted and moved to the populations that needed it. That drove the building of the railroads and a canal which moved the coal out of the area to market. The town of Jim Thorpe, where we board the bike train, was renamed for Mouch Chunk, or Bear Mountain in the Lenape language, when they accepted the famous athlete's widow's request for a permanent resting place and memorial. In 2005, the Lehigh Gorge Scenic Railway began operations as an excursion railroad along the gorge by the river, using the tracks that were originally built to carry coal.
Across from this train station is Pocono Biking, where you can rent bikes. You can also take their shuttle to, I believe it's one of about 3 different stops where you can bike back from where they drop you off. This truly is directly across from the train station. And as you know, we put our bikes on the train for a one-way ride back. And I believe you can rent bikes through the train website, and they come from directly across the street.
Lots of people on the bike aboard train.
All right, Kathy settles in on the bike train as we start loading. Lots of seats here. People still getting in.
We don't have assigned seats on this train, but the air conditioning mode is the same as the Northern Central Railway, Mother Nature.
There are a lot of bikes loaded on. This is the first car they loaded. Our bikes are on this car. And behind, they're still loading more bikes. It's a very popular excursion.
Northern bike train to Whitehaven, Pennsylvania. This bridge, which connects the Reading and Northern Reading and Lehigh divisions, was constructed by the railroad to expedite moves between Reading and Scranton, Pennsylvania. It officially opened for rail traffic on February 4th of 2020.
take a picture of this toilet handle and the pump, the way that you flush the toilet, a little different. We pulled over to a siding to let the passenger train pass by, and now we're apparently about 5 minutes out of Whitehaven, but they've got to throw the switch back after we pull off the siding.
We're also now exiting the Lehigh Gorge State Park. The town of Whitehaven was named for Josiah White, co-founder of the Lehigh Coal and Navigation Company. The Lehigh Canal began here and ran south to eastern, while the Lehigh Valley and CNJ Railroad ran through town.
Here in Whitehaven, and they're unloading the bikes. It's actually sprinkling here. Didn't expect that, but at least it's not too hot.
Everybody's just kind of waiting to get their bikes. Maybe the rain's getting a little heavier.
Ours were some of the first to go on, so it's going to take a while before we see ours. 10:45. We've all the bikes are off the train, and we have loaded our bikes up, and we're about ready to head down the trail. There are a few people who are still riding back on the return train who are not biking, and I think they've brought them all to one car, so a lot fewer of them than there are of the bikers. It's now closer to 11, and you can see that pretty much everybody has left except for the train. So we're going to head down the trail now, hopefully a little bit quieter ride.
Along our trail, the first thing we came to is Lock 28 Remains. It was a lock to help people traverse the rapids of the Lehigh River. You see some steps over to the far side. There's the river.
We're near the village of Lehigh Tannery, which is where there was the second largest tannery in the U.S. until it burned in 1875. We actually are beneficiaries of that burn because they stripped the hemlock trees of their bark. They dumped the effluent from the tannery into the river and deforested much of this area, which is now green and lush. The Lehigh River has rafters and kayakers. It's a popular river for all sorts of water activities, including swimming.
Much of today's travel is in the 4,548 acre, 32 mile long, the Lehigh River Valley, Lehigh Gorge State Park. Rafting is a very popular activity in this river. As you see all the rafters preparing to go, you can see all the rafts. There's actually two companies behind you. Might see some orange rafts, and they launch them down into the river. But the bike path actually goes right between the rafters that are getting ready to go. Another popular spot to get to this location is by vehicle loaded up with bicycles. A lot of activity here with all the rafters, the bikers coming down from the train, the bikers from the bus, and just people that have come to the park to enjoy all the scenery and things.
Got lots of rafters having a good time, and there are many more behind these guys. And there's some kayakers along the river too.
This restroom is a popular spot. It's 9 miles from where we got off the train, and I'm told there's not another one for about 15 more miles. So most people stop here, although I do see some are just continuing on.
We're still having a overcast day, which was not forecast at all, but it's making the temperatures much cooler. It sprinkles every now and then, but it's not been bad. Getting closer and closer to the river as we go downhill.
Motorized vehicles. I believe Class 1 and Class 2 bikes by federal law are not considered motorized vehicles. But many organizations and places are putting more restrictions in place. And you can see the same true for this park.
There have been a few bike repair stations along the trail. The early part of the trail was very dry, flat, and we've had a lot more of these along the last, say, 8 miles or so. I guess from the rain earlier this week, but it makes for a muddy ride. The Delaware and Lehigh Heritage Corridor, we're actually part of the D&L Trail, which goes through Lehigh Gorge State Park and picks up, goes actually through Allentown, connecting other trails. The Ironton Trail we rode a few days ago, and we'll head on down to, I believe it is Philadelphia.
This board tells of how they got coal down from the mountain. They actually had side-by-side rails. They'd have a car that's full of coal going down the mountain, connected to an empty car at the bottom that would pull it up as it went down. Pretty clever approach. There's no remains of that now. I assume it worked through all of this wooded area at the time.
You're looking at the first oil pipeline in America. It was used to get oil from western Pennsylvania. In this case, it's crossing the river, the Lehigh River, to New Jersey, where the refineries were at the time. This was in the 1800s, and it was an attempt to bypass John Rockefeller's stranglehold on the railroads for the independent oil companies. So sign says the idea survived, but the oil companies did not. Rockefeller lowered his prices and starved him out. We are in Lehigh Gorge State Park, and this is at Glen Onoko Falls, where there used to be a resort, destroyed in 1917 by fire, but it was the beautiful falls. We're less than 2 miles away from Jim Thorpe. This is the final crossing, I believe, of the Lehigh River as it makes its way down into the valley. So we've had a good ride. The sun's finally come out, and I think we're both looking forward to getting off the bikes at the end of the day, but it's been good. Just take a look at this muddy mess from our last half of the ride, which is all mud. So it's 3 o'clock. We had a 5-hour ride, and we are back a little dirtier than we were when we started, and grateful for a good day. So here comes a train back from Whitehaven with one car of passengers who chose to ride both ways and some empty bike cars.